Okay, so I guess let's get started. While I wait for Craig to let me know if there's snow in Scotland. So I'm sure you all know me by now, but for those who don't, I'm Cindy. I'm SysAid's Director of Customer Success. And welcome to the Cindy Show, which is our bi-weekly learning series designed for SysAid customers like yourselves. Each 1 hour Zoom, as you know, is a session which is usually hosted live by myself, and I'm here to bring you expert tips and best practices and support you with live Q&A to help you level up your SysAid experience. So today, I'm super excited to introduce our guest speaker, Eddie. I hope I say your last name correctly, Naaman. He is our guest speaker for today. Eddie brings us a lot of experience. He is one of our product managers, and he's going to walk you through SysAid Connect, which is powered by Workato, which is something completely new in SysAid. And the goal is for customers like yourselves to understand a little bit how we integrate with other tools. So, Eddie, I'm so happy to have you here with us today. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, Cindy, thank you for the great welcome, and it's a pleasure to be on the show finally. And hello, everyone. My name is Eddie. I'm the product manager here at SysAid, leading the aspect of integrations. So everything related to connectivity between our system and other systems, other services that we all use because we understand the importance of basically having the systems connected and interacting with each other. And that's my ownership here at SysAid. Generally speaking, I'm almost 10 months here at SysAid.
Feels
So
like
yeah,
longer, Eddie. It feels like longer, I have to say.
yes, definitely. But it's a great experience and glad to be on the show.
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks for joining today and for taking the time out of your day. I know how busy you are. Okay, so as always, please feel free to ask questions in the chat at any time. My team will assist in answering them. I'll also get to them during the session. So Eddie and I can try and answer them. And as always, I'll be adding a few polls throughout the session, and I would love your feedback. A special thank you to my team. Also Barak and Ella previously. Barak, who's in our marketing ops, a special thank you to you guys for always being on these sessions to help moderate as well. And of course, to all of you, thank you for being here today. This is going to be an incredible session today, and I'm so excited that you guys are here. All right, so before we begin, let's launch our first poll. Barak, if you could please launch it for us. And the first poll that you're going to see is which category of external system are you most interested in integrating with SysAid using the new no-code engine? So you've got a few options there. It is multiple choice. And I'm going to give you a minute or two to answer. Please, as always, I appreciate your responses, and then I will land up sharing our responses just in about 30 seconds or so. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of movement here. So far, I guess for Eddie, the majority is collaboration and messaging platforms and monitoring and observability. I can't pronounce today. I'm not sure what's wrong with me. Maybe it's the weather. The monitoring and observability tools. That's the majority of our first poll, and some are not actually listed here. So I'm going to end the poll. Thank you for participating. And I'll just share the results. They're going to pop up on my screen. For some reason, can't share the results, but it's okay. I'm going to stop sharing. Eddie, you can't see the results, right?
I I can see the results.
You can?
Yes.
Oh, amazing. Okay, beautiful. So good. So we can see that the majority, like we said, is a collaboration and a lot less for CRM and sales marketing platforms.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of basically we could also see it from our side because even in SysAid, most of the daily work is around the collaboration and messaging platform. So every system, as long as it's connected to our collaboration and messaging platform, it's like brings us a lot of visibility. And I guess we're not the only one experiencing this behavior.
Amazing. Okay, good. I will stop sharing them. I feel like I don't have luck when I share polls. I feel like I either I'm not logged into Zoom or something goes wrong. Okay, but at least you can all see the results. And George, thank you for confirming that as well in the chat. Okay, so let's start off. You can see that in this slide over here that I'm sharing at the moment, it highlights a simple truth. And without integrations, the bottom line is your teams will struggle somewhat. Why? Because work becomes harder. Costs will rise, manual tasks increase, and mistakes can happen. We see it across the industry, and we know that 80% of teams say that they need a deeper type of integration just to work efficiently. And with most mid-sized companies using you can see over here, over 40 different types of tools, it's no surprise that data becomes fragmented and inconsistent. So instead of helping productivity and disconnected systems actually create more complexity or more complexity, that's a problem we are trying to address here today. And that's why I want Eddie, that's why I wanted Eddie to be on the show today. And we want to make your tools work together so your teams can work smarter. Over to you, Eddie.
Thank you. That's a great introduction for the topic that we're discussing today, because once again, moving data from one place to another, that's a very important piece of processes that we see inside of SysAid and also across our customers. And that's also why we decided to go with a solution called SysAid Connect. SysAid Connect is acting as the hub of everything related to integrations, and we decided also to emphasize the location of it. So previously it was under the settings, and now, as you can see, it's located directly within the main menu on the left side of the screen called Connect. And whenever you access it, you will see everything from SysAid related to integrations. So either Workato that we'll be discussing in details in a moment, the developer side and the APIs, the AI capabilities related to integrations, and the previously existing add-ons that we are familiar with.
Thanks, Eddie. I'll dive a little bit closer into what you've just seen. So as we can see, integration should be easy. No developers, easy, friendly UI with a drag and drop manner. And this is something that we've worked towards. There's hundreds of integrations available at once. And if this sounds like something that's going to appeal to you, you're going to absolutely love this part. And it's powered by Workato. And this is what Eddie is going to walk you through. The second part with the add-ons, this is something that you might already know already. If you might be currently using our add-ons. So we've repositioned add-ons to be part of the Connect area, as Eddie has already mentioned. And if all of the previous options don't solve your need, or your needs, I should say, you can leverage the power of AI to help you build a connection with other tools by using a conversational approach. You can describe what you need, and then you can let the AI help you turn it into a reality. And then lastly, if you have custom integrations customs integrations in your mind, you may need help and from our developers. You're welcome to discover our new developers API tool. Eddie, did I forget anything here?
No, that's pretty much it. And as you mentioned, the focus for this session will be around the integration, which is the first box. powered by Workato. But it's, the main part of the discussion for today.
Perfect, Eddie. Okay, so let's go to our second poll. And Barak, if you can please help us. What specific external tools are you most interested in connecting with in SysAid right now? And hopefully I'll have some success with sharing the results in a minute or so as well. What specific external tools are you most interested in connecting with SysAid right now? I'll give you a minute because this is free text, so I'll give you a minute or so just to answer. And then we can try and just see what some of you are actually responding to. And I'm sure it'll be super helpful to Eddie.
Definitely. Previously, we asked about the category, so now like taking a closer look into which specific tools we're looking to integrate. So I'm very curious to see the results of this one.
Okay, perfect. I'm still letting everyone type. I don't know, but I don't know about you, Eddie. I type slowly and I always make spelling mistakes. So, and it's okay if you make spelling mistakes on here. It's okay, but I usually type quite slowly.
We'll get to the idea anyway. I guess it will be still beneficial. And,
absolutely. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, great. I'm going to end the poll. Thank you so much to those who participated. I will share the results and view details. Now you're going to see it on my screen. Now you see it's happened to me again because I'm not logged into Zoom and I had this issue last time. Let me see if I can. No, I don't know why I can't see these results. I'm so sorry. I'll have to fix this for next time.
I will share. I will share from my side because I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Let me stop
the majority.
sharing.
Oh, maybe I can. Let's see. Yeah, okay, hopefully it will.
There we go. I can see the results. Thanks, Eddie. That's great.
Yeah, so we can see that the majority, basically 7 different participants answered Teams. We can also see that Microsoft is second in the line. See a bunch of different other ones, like directory, I guess that Active Directory, on-prem, we have WhatsApp, Intune, Copilot, Microsoft 365, PowerShell. Yeah, very diverse.
And then I see Cole in the chat who wasn't able to submit in time, but IFS Cloud is a big one for Cole and his team. So thanks, Cole, for mentioning that. Yeah. Okay, perfect. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. Thank you for participating, as I mentioned. And let's go into slideshow mode. Okay, great. Eddie, would you like to walk us through the slide?
Definitely. So I think we mentioned a couple of times the name Workato, right? And maybe it's important to take a moment and talk about what Workato is. So Workato is a service provider, and it's not just a service provider, it's the leading offering for the integration platform as a service, and that's what iPaaS stands for. What Workato does basically is helping services and apps connect between each other and pass information powered by the different workflows.
Sorry, let me.
We jumped.
Yeah.
And the important part is that everything can be achieved without any coding. So as you mentioned, Sydney, basically a drag and drop user-friendly interface that allows the user to achieve what they're looking for without needing a developer. So that's one of the important parts. Also, we're talking about a bunch of different systems, not only IT, right? So we saw the answers from the poll. We saw that most of them were talking about IT related, but it's not only, right? It's not only IT. We could talk about HR system, finance, basically not all of them, but most of the tools that we can encounter during the day-to-day work can be connected to Workato, basically allowing this automation through Workato. Then we talk about Workato not being an external service to SysAid, but basically becoming part of our offering. because it's embedded directly within the system, and we'll see it during the demo. And beyond that, the important part of having the real-time data passing from one side to another, so we don't really have to wait, but we could let the system act upon any event in any system right on the spot, and allowing this information to be basically instantly moving from one side to another.
So that's super interesting, because I'm not going to jump to the next slide yet, and we will get to the demo. But this is something that I wanted to ask you, Eddie. You know, and I think a lot of the people on the Cindy show know me by now. I was in professional services for 4 years, and I was the team leader at one stage for the professional services development team. And a lot of integrations we had to do was always a custom development project. So are you saying that with our new code-free integrations, we will not need our custom development team to assist, or does it depend on the complexity? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because this is a game changer. This is a big thing.
Definitely. So that's a great question. And the answer is somehow more complex because it depends on what we're trying to achieve by using Workato. If it's a simple, straightforward process, it can be achieved without any assistance and not without any involvement. The UI will guide the users how to achieve what they're looking for. And most cases will be successful and can be then pushed into basically active status and start working right on the spot. However, if we're trying to achieve a more complex or even a very complex automation, that's also possible. And here we might require some assistance from the PS teams here at SysAid, but it's only a possibility. It depends. Some of our customers were able to achieve very complex setups without even talking to us. So it depends. It actually depends on the setup and what we're trying to achieve. So everything is possible here.
Amazing. So I know you're going to walk us through it in just a few minutes, but by now you all must be thinking about what applications are we actually talking about, right? So one of the biggest advantages we bring is access to more than, like we said previously, over 1,000 code-free integrations. Whether you're using SaaS apps, databases, or even on-prem systems, Workato's built or pre-built connectors will make it really easy for you to integrate them directly with SysAid without needing developers or complex projects like Eddie just mentioned. Most of the tools you already rely on are covered, like Slack, Microsoft Teams, Salesforce, Jira, QuickBooks. What about Google? I'm not 100% sure. Is Google as well?
Yes, it's also included, correct.
Amazing. So Ryan, I hope that answers your question. And it's not just connectors. Workato provides smart recipes, and Eddie will show us very, very soon, which is pre-built automation templates that simplify integration and reduce the time and effort needed to get value. So instead of building integrations from scratch, you can plug into what already works and get it up and going very, very quickly. Okay, so enough talking from me. I think, Eddie, I'm going to let you dive deeper into this, and I'm going to stop sharing so that you can share. But before you start, I just want to see if there's any other questions in the chat. I don't see any other questions in the chat. If at all you guys do have questions, please feel free to ask and we will get to them. But I'll stop sharing for now and go for it, Eddie. You can take it away.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully you see it by now.
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay, great. So what we see on the screen, basically, and let's talk a little bit about where we are. As I mentioned, on the left side of the screen, in the main navigation area, we can see Connect. And whenever we access Connect, we'll see that we have the different options that we previously discussed. And specifically, as I mentioned, the focus for today's session is all around how to build an integration by leveraging the Workato capability. And here, once we click on Manage, we'll be taken to the pages coming from Workato. Now, inside of Workato, we have a bunch of different sections, but let's take it step by step and try to understand what's in it and what we're looking at. So the main tab that you will be landed whenever you click on integrations will be called projects. And projects, that's the page where you can see the different integrations between SysAid and other systems. For example, in this case, the projects that are also the equivalent of a folder, you can see that I have intercom and I have the on-prem, I have Datadog connected. Pretty much every system that I'm using can appear here, and everything related to this specific integration will appear under the same project. In this case, we'll be looking for the integration with intercom, everything related to it under intercom. So we don't really have to understand or look for any specific pieces all around Workato, but we know that everything related to a specific thing is located under the relevant project. Inside of every project, we'll see the relevant pieces of information. So the first one, and I will use the create button to go over the different options. The first one that we see is a recipe. Recipe is the equivalent of a workflow. That's where we define to Workato what should be done. So in case we're looking to take information from one service and push it to another, we'll be relying on the recipe to do that and describe to Workato what should be done. Then we have the connection. The connection is the authentication part against the other system that we're looking to connect. We talked about Jira, we talked about Microsoft Teams, Azure, different options. Basically, this is the part of the connections where we select the relevant app, and whenever we authenticate against it, we are able to proceed and use it as part of the recipe. Data tables are used in case we are looking to save some more data on Workato. So basically, we're pulling data, and instead of pushing it right away to some other service, we could temporarily save it in Workato. And folders are here in case we would like to tidy up the process and put relevant pieces of information under some folder, so we can later on make it easier for us to find the relevant pieces. For example, maybe all of the drafts can be located in one folder and all of the active recipes can be sitting in a separate one, but it's up to you to decide just the best option that works for you to make sure that you find all of the relevant pieces in here.
Eddie, if we could just pause for 1 second. There is a
Definitely.
question. Are these integrations free included with our SysAid cloud subscription?
Definitely.
I'll let you take it, unless you want me to, but you can go for it.
Sure, no problem. I can take this one. So the integrations offering powered by Workato is included as part of the ITSM and above. So all of the ITSM customers have Workato included. You just need to go to connect and activate it by your own. You don't really need to talk to anyone. It's automatically creating the account for you, and the authentication is done behind the scenes, once again, because it's part of the product here at SysAid. For help desk, it's not included. So basically, help desk customers will have to talk to us to understand better what is the best approach for them to start using Workato. One small important note is that Workato and basically everything that we see today is part of the Spaces environment, right? So in case we're talking about on-prem or classic customers, it's not included because we need the newer infrastructure that was built for and by Spaces. So that's also an important clarification here.
Thanks, Eddie. Yes, and if you are on the cloud and if you not specifically on Spaces yet, please reach out to your CSM or account manager. We are still gradually moving customers over to Spaces, but there's a lot of customers who have it enabled, but they actually haven't made the switch to actually start using Spaces. So this is definitely one of the reasons to move on to Spaces. And I also have a question from Ramona. Nice to see you, Ramona. as always, is there a limitation on the usage of Workato? Is there a cost if you exceed the limit?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. So we allocate a yearly quota based on the package. So ITSM customers will get 100,000 tasks, and we'll talk about what a task is because the Workato is usage-based software. And enterprise customers will get 3 times the number, so 300,000 yearly. And in case needed, of course, it's possible to purchase additional amount of tasks. But when you get to it, of course, you could talk with us to make sure that you get the exact number that is sufficient for your specific use case.
Amazing. Thanks, Eddie. Those are all the questions for now, so I guess I'm going to let you continue. Thank you.
Amazing. And questions are welcome. Feel free to drop additional questions if you have during the session, because that's how we could actually make sure that everything is clear. And thank you, Cindy, for passing the questions.
It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, so I'll get back to the Workato. We talked about the projects, but now I want to briefly describe what we have in the other tabs. So if we go to the community library, here we could leverage the abilities coming from the community. So some of the connectors with some services are provided by the community. And some of the community offerings include also recipes, which are automated workflows that we can use instead of building everything from scratch. We could just select a specific option and then find a recipe. We could then review the recipe, and in case it works for us, we could import it into our account right on the spot and start using it. Of course, in case needed, we could also apply modifications because one template might be almost the thing that we need, but we would like to maybe apply a small tweak or disable something along the process to make sure that it works perfectly with our need. So of course, that's also possible. It's not strict, it's still editable after you import it into your account. So these are the recipes and the custom connectors, as I mentioned. By the way, all of them are checked and verified by Workato. So in case you're wondering if it's coming from the community, is it safe to use? So the answer is yes, it's safe to use. Everything is validated by Workato to make sure that it's working as expected and not doing any harm. Then we have the analytics. So here you can see all of the activity in your account, because once you integrated something and pushed it live, you like to also make sure that everything is working. And in case not, that's the place where you can see a high-level summary of what's actually not working, and then take the relevant action in the relevant recipes. For example, I can see that I had 2 failures in my December OPA recipe. I can then open it and take action to make sure that I fix it, so I only have success and not failures. Here we can also see the usage, right? So I can see that over the last 7 days, I had 11 tasks that were used. And in general, if I'm looking at my plan, I can see that I have almost 600 tasks out of the yearly quota. So that's the place to look at. And then last but not least, we're talking about the API platform. The API platform is the offering to basically interact with Workato through APIs in case it's needed, right? So in case we're looking to connect different services and make them trigger Workato recipe, that's also possible, okay? It's a more advanced capability, but it's still here in case it's relevant. Now I'd like to go back to the main part and projects. That's the place. And what I'll do next is basically show you how we together can simply create a recipe and make it work for our needs. So for the sake of this demo, I'll be using Intercom. Intercom is used commonly for conversations with customers as a chat, or maybe as some support channels like SMS. And what I'll do next is basically create a recipe. Right? So I'll go ahead and click on create recipe. And I'll be taken to this page where I can define the name of the recipe. So maybe I'll call it something like intercom test. Now, since I opened it under the intercom project, it's already in here. And we can then select the starting point of this recipe. And why that's a question? Because here we can define if we're looking for a specific app to trigger, meaning whenever something happens in an app, let it then start the process, start the recipe. Or another option can be, for example, run it on a schedule, meaning every 5 minutes, every 1 hour, every Monday morning, every Tuesday night, we could define it. We also have additional capabilities that are more advanced. And for the sake of the simplicity here, we'll be using this option of triggering from an app, letting an app define that something actually happened, and then we could start the recipe. Let's click on Start Building. And here we can see the UI where we can define what we're trying to achieve and what happens. So let's start first by first, and we'll talk about the trigger. So here we have to select the app that will be triggering the recipe. And in this case, since I talked about using intercom, I'll be looking at the list of the apps. We have several that are suggested or actually connected in my account, but we could also click on See All Apps. And here we have a long list of a bunch of different apps that are available, but also in case it's easier, I can also look for a specific app and find it right on the spot. In this case, I'll be looking for intercom. Next, I'll have to define which event will be the trigger for the process, right? Because I know that from intercom, I could have a bunch of different events that are coming from intercom. Not necessarily all of them are relevant for my automation, my integration here. So I can see the list, I can scroll, find the relevant piece. In case it's not here, it's important to understand that maybe it's not part of the offering. But in case it's here, I can then select the relevant trigger. For example, a new conversation. You want to know that somebody started a new conversation. And let's select that. And then I'll be asked about the connection. I might have several intercom accounts, and that's okay. I could also have several Jira accounts or several Slack accounts, and that's fine. But for the sake of having a single recipe, I need to define with which intercom account Workato should be checking for updates. And in this case, I already have my intercom account connected. In case I don't have, I can also right on the spot make a connection, basically authenticate against intercom, so I can then proceed with the setup. So once I click on my intercom account, I'm taken to the setup where actually it says that, okay, in case I need help, it's available, but pretty much we finished the setup of the trigger.
Eddie, I have a question.
Sure.
Sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. You said
That's
in the
great.
beginning, when you were creating a trigger, you would pick from the drop down of the triggers. But if there isn't one there, you said, did I hear you correctly when you said that you can create a trigger, or it would always be in that drop down?
It should be in the dropdown. In case it's not part of the dropdown, we might look for a community connector, maybe something else that is not listed here by default. But in case, even if we check the community connector and we're still not able to find, so maybe it's not supported, and then we could maybe together with SysAid, with the representative, check if it's actually there's maybe a workaround to achieve that. But by default, everything that is possible by a single app should be present as part of the triggers part. Or in a minute, we'll see how it looks like on the action side, because under action, we also have the relevant actions that are available. So same story goes for the actions part.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. And then we have a question from Austin. I don't know if this will, I know you're busy showing us this recipe, so I don't know if it's the best time to answer, but I'll ask it anyway. How can we get help setting up integrations with Active Directory and running PowerShell scripts? We have tried to do it on our own, but have had no success.
Great. So that's related to the question that you raised previously, talking about the professional services. And in this case, professional services can assist with making sure that the recipe is set correctly, and in case needed, even can provide assistance with configuring the recipe, because some of the areas like Active Directory can be more complex, and that's why we have our professional services, or educated and certified, to provide the assistance with Workato.
Thanks, Eddie. So, Austin, what we'll do is we'll make sure that your customer success manager gets in contact with you. If one of my chat moderators could please assist with this in the meantime, so that we can help Austin with this. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Eddie.
It's a great question. Things like that, basically understanding the customer needs. Sometimes it's straightforward, but sometimes we have special needs, and that's also fine. That's part of the deal here.
Absolutely.
So I'll go back to where I stopped around the setup. So we achieved the last step, and it means that the trigger is now finished. And we can proceed to the next step. And as we can see here on the screen, we have the box number 1, which is the trigger. And then we can see that under actions, we don't really have any. But if we hover over the plus icon, we can see that we have this add step. And by clicking on add step, we can see that we can then define to Workato what should happen next, right? So one of the options is the action in app. So we need to select an app and define what will be happening, right? But we also have additional, more complex options, and some of them include, for example, conditions, because we don't necessarily want every conversation from Intercom to be doing something in an app. And let's maybe take a look into this specific capability. But I would like to highlight that the additional options that we have on the screen are also functional, but they are used for a slightly different use case, let's say more advanced. Once again, for the sake of simplicity, let's stick with the basic setup of a recipe. And we can click on the if condition. And then we see that we now have an additional box that appeared, box number 2. And here we have on the right side, we have the ability to define what will be the condition. So it's an if statement. And here, let me open this part once again. And then we have the recipe data. Recipe data means that we got some information from the trigger. In this case, it's Intercom, and that's why we see this icon on the screen. But then maybe also maximize it so we can see all of the information that was retrieved. And we could look for it to understand better what we would like to use for our condition, right? So let's say that we might select data field body, or actually not body, let's go with subject, for example. And then we can see that we have the select condition option. And here we could define which condition is relevant. So maybe contains, okay, we have a bunch of these. It could be equal to, present, greater, depending on the type. But for this one, we'll be looking at contains. Let's use contains, and the value will be urgent. Okay, so in case we have a new conversation coming from Intercom and the subject contains the word urgent, then we'd like to take action. So now let's take a look at step number 3. Of course, it's possible to make it more complex. We could also add additional conditions on top of this specific one that we just created. But once again, in this case, I'll be proceeding with the basic setup just to give you some understanding of how it looks like. Great. And I'm hopping to this part of yes, and I would like to select an app. And here I'll be asked once again, which app I would like to use. So once again, by default, the top part will be including the connected apps. But below this part, we can see all of the other apps that are available. And let's say that in this time, I would like to pass this information into SysAid. Right, so I just identified a new conversation that is urgent. So I'd like to then maybe create a new service record in SysAid. And here we can see this part of the action. And you can see that in comparison to Intercom, this time it looks slightly different. right? We have different options here. And that's exactly why I've mentioned it before. Every app has a different setup and different offerings. So in this case, SysAid has a bunch of different capabilities, but they're not identical to Intercom. And here I can search for create, and let's see what we can create. We can create an agent, less relevant. We can create a new attachment, maybe a user. But I think that the most appropriate example would be creating a new service record, right? I would like to create a ticket. Great. I've selected the action, and now I'm taking to this part of connection. Once again, I have to define which account I would like to use. In this case, I have my SysAid account connected, and I'll be selecting it. And now I have to define which information I would like to pass to SysAid, right? I can see the setup tab, and in this case, I have fields that I have to populate. So let's take a look. The first one is type, and I know that it's mandatory. Why? Because I have this indication here next to the name. So let's see what are the options. We have pretty much the same options as we have in the system. What the type of the ticket. So in this case, let's say that's an incident. Okay, so I know that's an incident, but I would like to also pass some meaningful information, not just saying that we have a new urgent conversation in Intercom. So that's where I can define what will be the title. Let's take a look. I can say hard code the part of urgent conversation, and maybe take some information coming from Intercom, for example, subject and ID. This way I don't really have to look for just the subject in Intercom, but I could also rely on the ID. And Workato will be automatically populating these two pieces of information for every new process that will be processing. And beyond the two options that we have on the screen, we also have additional options that are not mandatory, that are optional. And here we could select from the list so we can have more information going into SysAid, so we could better understand what should be done next. Same approach here, we could populate the information coming from the source, from the trigger. But let's say that here I'll be just pasting something like the body, for example. Okay, so we can see all of the conversation right on the spot. Great, let's save it. And let's take a look at what we have else. So I could then do additional step here. So let's say that I want to create a new ticket in SysAid, but I might be looking to send an email. So that's also possible, right? It's not a one-to-one, it's one-to-many. I mean, we could keep it simple and keep it one-to-one, but I could also just select something like, let's see, we have a bunch of different options, and Gmail is included in here. Outlook for the Microsoft users, but we also have a native solution. So I can also configure an email and also selecting the different pieces of information and saying a new ticket was created.
Eddie, I have a question.
Sure.
What is just to understand, what is the purpose of actually creating this email step?
It's just an example, right? We can use email in this example just to say that, okay, we completed the process as expected, but it could be also any other one. And we could also use Slack, for example, to send a message saying, hey, we have an urgent ticket that was just created and the manager is better to take a look. But once again, just for the sake of understanding how the configuration process looks like, not necessarily having to use this email option by Workato. It can be pretty much any other app. But the idea is, once again, that it can get as complex as we want, right? Because from here, we could add an additional condition and saying, if the email, I don't know, something, then do additional steps. But I don't really want to overcomplicate it. And let's just, you know what? Let's keep it slightly simpler. And I say here, maybe just in case it's not urgent, I don't really want to do anything. So just stop the process, right? And mark it as successful. So we'll process it. We see if the condition was met. If not, so we just stop and we do nothing. That's okay. Now, let's say that we just finished configuring this recipe and we're curious, is it even working? So Workato offers us the ability to test the recipe right on the spot. Okay, so we connected the dots, we configured everything, and now we're curious, is it even working? So I can click on this button here called Test Recipe, and Workato will make an attempt to check if new information is coming from the system. And in case it's successful, we'll see right on the spot the information that was processed. I will stop this test because I didn't trigger any new conversations. And I'll jump to another recipe where I previously tested this one. And okay, here under test jobs, I can show you how it looks like when we have an actual attempt and an actual test that was running. So we can see here the process, we can see the information that was received from the trigger. In this case, it's intercom. We see that we had this condition in place and the condition was not met. And specifically in the other recipe that I created, the flow ended by just sending an email through Workato saying, okay, we made an attempt, we evaluated the information coming from intercom and everything is okay, just no ticket was created, and that's fine. And this testing step is here to bring us the confidence that we configured everything correctly before we push it live, right? Because we want to be 100% sure that everything is working just as we expected and not having any surprises down the line.
Thanks, Eddie. Just in the interest of time, because we've only got about 5 to 7 minutes left. This is super interesting, and of course, I'm actually learning quite a lot from this as well. So thank you. I just would like to ask you, if customers obviously test this, could they break something in SysAid? Like, do you encourage them to test and play around with this? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's a great one. I think that first of all, you cannot break anything in SysAid, and that's why the test is a good option. Because let's say that you are not 100% sure about the recipe that you just created. A test will be a single run of the process one time. So even if you create a ticket in SysAid, you won't be bombarded with a bunch of different tickets, right? The test will run one time, will present you the information that was processed. You can then go to SysAid, check the ticket number, for example, or check the user to see the information. And if it's updated as expected, you should be good to go. So with the test option in place and by using it before we activate a recipe, we should be good to go and make sure that everything is indeed working as expected. And that's the confidence part that we are looking to give to our customers. So I would encourage our customers to start playing with the system and use the test job to test the recipe that they just created to make sure that it's indeed running. And by the way, it's not a one-time thing, right? I might be looking to apply some changes and then testing the recipe once again. So the number of tests is endless until you get to the point where you say, okay, now I know that everything is working, right? So we can see here, I just created a new test. Once again, I can then evaluate the process. I can understand, is it good enough? Yes or no? I can see all of the pieces of information that were processed. And only when I feel confident, I can go ahead and basically start the recipe, which is basically the equivalent of activate. Until that point, it will remain inactive and nothing will basically do without us actually instructing it to start.
Amazing. That's good to know, because the last thing you want to do is be in SysAid and feel like you're going to break something. And at least it gives our customers a chance to play around, and we encourage them obviously to do so, because this is an exceptional tool. I really like, Eddie, how you have literally done this step by step. And of course, for everyone who's on the call, and I guess also people who haven't joined today, we'll share the recording, and of course we'll share some documentation as well, just to be able to so that people can obviously follow step by step with regards to how to create a recipe. And I love the word recipe. Why? Because I love food. So it feels like this specific feature has been built just for me because of the word recipe.
Amazing.
Okay. Eddie, was there anything else you wanted to cover before I launch our I guess we can launch our poll, and the next poll is would you like a customer success manager to contact you? But Eddie, is there anything else you wanted to mention before we start finishing up?
Yeah, just a small note. Even if after we activate the recipe, we're still in control because Workato logs all of the different processes that were done. So even after we activate, we still have the ability to control everything under the jobs section. So even if we're having some suspicion or doubts about is it actually working as expected, we always can monitor the process. And in case it's not looking good, we can then stop it on the spot, make changes, and apply it once again to activate and make sure that everything is indeed working as expected. That's the last note.
Amazing, Eddie. Well, firstly, Eddie, thank you so much for being my guest speaker today. It's been a pleasure to have you on and to really show such great demo on how to actually get this working in SysAid. So I really appreciate it. And of course, my chat moderators and all of you for being here. We're always joining the Cindy Show. I am going to put in the Cindy Show it's going to be our last one for the year. If you have not been to any of our webinars for License Manager, I highly, highly, highly recommend you enjoy this next Cindy Show, which will be next week. You can register. You can see I posted the registration link over there. And next year, I'm really excited because we're actually going to do, thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Beth. And next year, we're going to do some great sessions on configurations. We're going to go into escalation rules, reporting, and we've got some really nice shows lined up for next year. We'll be starting on the 7th of January, so look out for that. And I guess that's it. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. And it's a pleasure to always be presenting to you guys. So thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.